Hello, and welcome to Frequency First Living, a new way to be human. Okay, real talk. You are about to go on a journey, but not the kind with spreadsheets or spiritual homework. This one is different. It's an energy shift, a vibe flip, a total reintroduction to how life actually works when you stop reacting and start transmitting. This is Frequency First Living. And yes, it's exactly what it sounds like. We are putting frequency first and watching everything else fall into alignment. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, great, another raise your vibration thing, don't worry. This isn't about pretending to be happy. It's not about curating a perfectly aesthetic life. And it's definitely not about bypassing your very real, very human emotions. This is about understanding how powerful you actually are, not in a hype yourself up for 5 minutes kind of way, but in a deep, like, holy crap, I've been doing this backwards kind of way. Because here's the truth no one really teaches you. Your frequency is the starting point, not the reward. Most of us are taught to wait for life to give us permission to feel good. When I make more money, then I'll feel abundant. When that relationship works out, then I'll feel secure. When Mercury stops retrograding, then maybe I can relax. But what if it works the other way around? What if your state, your energy, your inner tone, your vibe actually shapes your experience of life? Not because you're forcing it, but because reality is way more responsive than we were taught to believe. So that's what we're doing here. We're flipping the polarity from reaction to creation, from chaos to coherence, from wait and see to lead with energy. You don't need to take notes. You don't need to get this perfect. You just need to listen and feel what resonates. There'll be stories, real life examples, and probably a few moments where you think, how did they know that's what I've been doing? Because chances are you already know this, somewhere inside. This isn't new information. It's remembrance. So wherever you are, driving, walking, laying flat on the floor, wondering what's next, take a breath. Let your body catch up to your awareness and let yourself soften into this moment. Because once you start living frequency first, you stop chasing alignment and start broadcasting it. So let's begin. So what is frequency really? All right, we need to clear this up. When I say frequency, I don't mean how often you brush your teeth or how many times a week you meditate. That's one kind of frequency, sure, but that's not this kind of frequency. I'm talking about the kind of frequency that shapes your entire life, the vibe beneath the action, the energy under the words, the you that walks into a room before you say a single thing. Let me give you a real example. Two people walk into a coffee shop. One's all tense, rushing, thinking about 47 things they forgot to do. The other one is relaxed, grounded, vibing to their own internal playlist. Same space, same time, totally different frequency. And you can feel it, right? We all can. Some people walk in and you immediately feel safe. Others walk in and you instinctively clutch your coffee like it's holy protection. That's not coincidence, that's energy. That's frequency. Nikola Tesla, the OG cosmic engineer, once said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And this guy was not joking, because here's the wild part. You're always broadcasting, even when you think you're not. It's not just about what you say or do. It's about how you be while you're doing it. You can send a text from a place of panic, or send the exact same text from a place of grounded clarity. And guess what? The field responds differently. Ever have someone totally misinterpret something you said, even though you swore you were being super chill? Chances are your energy said otherwise. So when we talk about frequency first living, we're talking about leading with your state, not your circumstance. We're talking about shifting from, I'll feel better once life gets easier, to life gets easier once I shift what I'm broadcasting. And no, This isn't about faking positivity or trying to be high vibe all the time. That is exhausting and unrealistic. This is about becoming aware of what your frequency actually is and learning how to shift it on purpose. You might start noticing things like, whoa, I've been walking around in low-grade resentment all day. Or my smile looks polite, but my frequency is done with this conversation. Or I feel tight in my chest every time I check my email. That is awareness. That's the beginning of your superpower. Because once you notice it, you can choose it. Not by forcing, not by faking, just by asking, is this the frequency I want to live from right now? And if the answer is no, you can shift it with your breath, with movement, with music, with intention. You're not here to micromanage your life. You're here to transmit your alignment and let life respond. So as we keep going, just remember, you're not trying to become a better version of yourself. You're tuning in to the one who's already been here. She's just been a little staticky under all the noise. So let's clear the airwaves. So now that you've got a feel for what frequency actually is, here's something wild to consider. Your signal is always on. Always. Even when you're not trying. Even when you think you're being neutral. Even when you're just having a day and hoping nobody notices. There is no off switch. Your frequency is like a lighthouse. It's either beaming clearly or it's fogged up, but either way, it's broadcasting. Think about it. You walk into a room and someone instantly asks, "Hey, are you okay?" Even though you said nothing. That's your frequency talking. You post something on Instagram that feels kind of meh, and it gets crickets. But then you post a photo of your coffee when you're in a genuinely good mood and somehow people comment like it's a TED Talk. That's your frequency too. It's not the content, it's the energy underneath. And here's the thing, most of us are walking around broadcasting a signal we didn't consciously choose. Why? Because we've been trained to live in reaction mode. We absorb the energy of our inbox. We mirror our partner's mood. We doom scroll and then wonder why we feel numb and tired. We think we're just responding to life, but really, we're just playing out old frequencies on repeat. Frequencies like, I don't have time. I have to do everything alone. People always disappoint me. I'm not safe to slow down. I have to be productive to matter. Those aren't facts. Those are frequencies. And the wild part, they're transmitting even when you don't say them out loud. So if life feels like it's echoing the same scenarios again and again, it might be time to check what signal you're sending. Not to blame yourself, but to empower yourself. There's a difference. Because once you start paying attention, you'll realize you've got way more creative influence than you thought. And this is where your healing work comes in. If you've been with me on the healing path, you know those audio journeys aren't just soothing background noise. They're like energetic Windex for your signal. They help you notice what you've been unconsciously broadcasting and give you tools to shift it with clarity, breath, and choice. You don't need to bulldoze your emotions. You just need to feel them cleanly so they stop hijacking the station. Because here's the truth. You're already influencing reality. The only question is, what is your signal actually saying? Let's play this out with a few more real-life examples. Let's say you're feeling insecure, so you over-explain your idea at work. People don't really respond. Now your brain goes, see, they don't respect me. But what actually happened is your signal was uncertainty, and they picked up on it before you finished your first sentence. Or you're grounded, calm, and speak your truth in 5 words, and suddenly everyone listens like it's gospel. Same you, different frequency. So instead of saying, why isn't life working? Try asking, what am I transmitting right now? And then, is that what I want to be living inside of? No judgment, just awareness. That's the magic, because once you become aware of your signal, you stop living at the mercy of the moment and you start living on purpose. All right, so you've realized your frequency is always broadcasting. You're starting to catch the signal. You're noticing the tone underneath your words, the energy behind your actions. Beautiful. Now it's time to flip the polarity, because here's the deal. Most people are stuck in reaction mode. They're not setting the tone, they're absorbing it, and then reacting to it over and over again. Things like this. You wake up and check your phone before even breathing. You see a stressful email or a weird message or someone living their best life on a beach you can't afford, and instantly your energy tanks. Your nervous system goes from neutral to, I have 4 seconds to solve my entire life. Now you're reacting from the outside in. But what if we flipped that? What if you decided that you set the tone? You broadcast the frequency. You influence reality, not the other way around. That's flipping the polarity from life happens to me to life responds to me. This doesn't mean you never have hard days. It means you stop letting the hard day decide who you are. So let's make this real. You get stuck in traffic. The old you says, "This day is cursed. The universe hates me, I'm spiraling." New you says, "Cool, I've got 15 minutes to breathe and recalibrate. Maybe I'll play that weird ambient whale sound playlist I secretly love." That's a polarity flip. Or you check your bank account and feel your stomach drop. The old you says, "See, I'm never going to feel safe." The new you says, "Okay, I see what's real right now. But I also know that my frequency shifts outcomes. I've turned things around before, I can do it again. Let's anchor into what abundance feels like." Polarity flipped. It's not about gaslighting yourself. It's not about pretending that everything is fine. It's about realizing how I respond now is what shapes what happens next. Your frequency leads and reality follows. Not in a magical thinking way, but in a deeply energetic, actually how this works kind of way. So the question becomes, what energy do I want to send ahead of me today? Try this little challenge. Before you enter a room, conversation, even a Zoom call, pause, breathe, and silently ask yourself, what frequency do I want to bring into this space? And then bring it. You'll be amazed at how people shift, how things flow, how situations that used to knock you sideways suddenly feel manageable, maybe even easeful, because you're not waiting anymore, you're leading. And the more you practice it, the more you realize this isn't about doing more, it's about being tuned in. That is polarity mastery, and it starts with one breath, one moment, one choice at a time. Okay, so let's talk about the frequency of "it's already done." So we've talked about noticing your frequency. We've talked about flipping the polarity. Now let's talk about one of the juiciest shifts of all, the frequency of "it's already done." Because here's the thing, most people are living in what I call pending energy. It's that subtle state of almost, working on it, getting there, trying. It's the vibe of when I finally figure this out, when the timing's right, when I'm more healed / more confident / more ready. You know what I'm saying. It's a constant state of becoming, but never quite being. And I super get this. We have been taught that once we do enough, then we will feel enough. But frequency flips that on its head. What if, instead of trying to become the version of you who has it, you start being that version right now? What if the thing you want, peace, abundance, love, purpose, isn't something you earn? It's something you embody. Let's make it real. You want to feel confident. Pending energy says, I'll feel confident when I launch the thing and get that positive feedback. The frequency of "it's already done" says, I'm speaking from clarity now. I'm choosing to trust myself now. I am the one who's creating this. Another one. Let's say you want to feel financially secure. Don't we all? Pending energy says, I'll finally relax when I make more money. It's already done energy says, I'm breathing like someone who knows that money is coming. I'm making decisions like someone who trusts they're supported. I'm being the energy of overflow before the numbers change. Or you want to feel loved. That's a big one for a lot of people, pretty much everyone. Pending energy says, I'll feel loved when I'm in a relationship. It's already done says, I'm treating myself like I'm already cherished. I'm cultivating the space for love to walk right in, not because I'm desperate, but because I'm already whole. Do you feel the shift? The field doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you are. It doesn't mirror your goals. It mirrors your state. So the question becomes, can you tune into the version of you who already has it and let that version take the lead? This doesn't mean faking it. It doesn't mean putting on an act. It means getting super curious. How would I breathe, move, speak, choose if I already knew it was done? And then practicing that, even for 30 seconds, even just with your shoulders, even with the way you sip your coffee in the morning. You don't have to convince anyone. You just have to tune in. Because once you start living from the frequency of already done, you stop chasing, you start magnetizing. And the version of you you've been trying to become, they stop being a future goal and start becoming your current baseline. Truthfully, they've been here all along. This is a new language we're talking about. So you can feel this by now, right? That shift, that click, that little voice saying, oh, this is how it actually works. You're not waiting anymore. You're not reacting. You're not outsourcing your alignment to someone else's behavior or the external chaos of the world. You're leading with your energy. You're flipping the polarity. You're starting to embody the version of you who already lives in alignment. And what you're doing, maybe without even realizing it, is learning a whole new language. A language that doesn't use grammar or logic. A language that doesn't care about credentials or checklists. A language your nervous system remembers, even if your mind is still catching up. It's the language of frequency. And once you start speaking it with your breath, your choices, your pauses, your presence, you realize something huge. You've been speaking someone else's language your whole life. The language of survival, the language of proving, the language of productivity, the language of when it looks good, then it is good. But now you're switching channels. You're learning to communicate with life on an entirely new level. Let's make this real. Let's say you get a rejection email. Old language says, I'm not good enough, I failed. New language says, this isn't a match and something better is already on its way to me. You forget to meditate for a few days. Old language says, you're off track, you suck. New language says, I'm human, my frequency is still communicating. I can return with love, not shame. You show up for a conversation and speak your truth clearly. Old language might say, ugh, did I say too much? Were they uncomfortable? New language says, I'm learning to be fluent in honesty. That's a language of integrity. See how different that feels? This isn't just personal growth. This is frequency fluency. And it starts to change everything. Not because you've added a new task to your to-do list, but because you've remembered the power you already carry. This audio journey was never about teaching you something you didn't know. It was about uncovering what you've always felt, but couldn't quite name. You don't need more hustle. You need more harmony. You don't need to be louder. You need to be clearer. Because the clearer your signal, the more life reflects it, and the more people feel it, not just hear it. So here's your invitation moving forward. Start living as someone who speaks frequency. Lead with your energy. Trust your resonance. and let the rest organize around that. You're not broken. You're not late. You're not too much. You're just remembering your native tongue. Welcome back to your original language, the one your body knows, your field transmits, and the universe is constantly responding to. You don't need to try harder. You just need to tune in. So let's finish this journey with the spark of embodiment, because it's not real until it's embodied. And let's talk about the frequency of the future you. So you've tuned into frequency, you've felt your signal, you've flipped the polarity, you've practiced, it's already done. Now it's time to meet the version of you who already lives this way. And spoiler alert, they are not a fantasy. They're not waiting in the future. They're not hiding behind some cosmic paywall. They're you, just tuned to a cleaner signal. So let's meet them. Take a breath, the kind of breath your future self takes when they open their laptop and see the email they've been waiting for. But they're not surprised, because they knew it was already coming. That version of you exists, and they're not perfect. They still forget their water bottle. They still get weirdly emotional in parking lots sometimes, or the shower. But here's what's different. They know who they are. They walk into a room without checking the emotional weather first. They show up for their creative ideas like they're sacred guests, not annoying homework. They ask for help without guilt. They take breaks without needing to justify them. They celebrate other people's wins without shrinking. They trust the timing, not because it's always convenient, but because they're in tune. Let's make this tangible. Future you gets a weird comment online. They don't spiral. They breathe, maybe laugh, and think, not my frequency, return to sender. Future you checks their bank account and feels peace, not because it's always overflowing, although it probably will be, but because they've stopped linking numbers to worth. Future you wakes up with clarity, even on off days. They know how to recalibrate. They don't abandon themselves when things get messy. They might dance in the kitchen while waiting for toast. They might leave voice memos that sound like channelings. They might walk their dog and cry at the sky, in a good way. Because here's where the real magic is. Future you isn't different because they've achieved more. They're different because they've embodied more ease, more alignment, more trust. So let's do something now. Stand up if you can. Yes, really, stand up. Shake your body out. Roll your shoulders, wiggle your fingers, exhale out whatever static you've been holding. Now, walk across the room like future you just got here. Like you're already landed the thing, you're already clear, like you trust the pulse of your own becoming. What changes? Is your posture different? Is your breath more calm? Is your pace different? This isn't pretend, this is a transmission, and you're letting your body remember. Because the truth of everything is, you don't become this version of you. You actually just let them in. You clear the space, you make room, you stop arguing with your own brilliance, and then you broadcast. So as you close this journey and move into whatever's next, the phone call, a shower, a nap, the grocery run, try this. Do it like your future self would, from a place of coherence, of clarity. You're not chasing the timeline. You're transmitting it. And life, it's listening, always.